Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachakwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And welcome to another series of quick and important information being brought to you by the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Just wanted to do a video real quick, a video that was done by the brother GMS Testimonials Visions 4, or you have Testimonials Visions 4, GMS Testimonials Visions 4, and as you see on the screen right here, distress of nations. The risk of civil unrest is surging in more than half of the world's countries. Now, I'm going to just say this real quick before I begin. There's been a lot of exciting news that has been happening lately. I mean, the chip has been being pushed at an all-time high. We're hearing about that more and more in the news. The brother GMS Awakening 144. GMS Awakening, the 144K. He did a video on how, on his local channel, they was talking about, this device the size of a grain of rice. They said it was golden. They said it cost like $300, and they made it seem so convenient. So now that's becoming the new talk in the news now. The MOTB, the market of you-know-what, okay? And, the first scripture that should always come to your mind when you see that thing is Revelation 13, verse 16 down to 18, and Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, all the way down to 11, okay? Also, Revelation 20, verse 4, Revelation 2 and 9, because we know that's going to be the hour of temptation when, some of us, like it tells you in Revelation 2 and 9, Revelation 2 and 10, I believe it's Revelation 2 and 10. Some of us is going to be thrown into these female concentration camps for the testimony of Yahweh Shai, being beheaded, fulfilling the prophecy of Revelation 20 and 4. But there's been a lot that's been happening in the news lately, tensions between China and the United States is at an all-time high. Now we're hearing about Taiwan that has been shooting at Chinese drones. Okay, so and all these are just build-ups. It's not World War III, but it's going to lead to World War III. You see, because we know World War III is going to start when those so-called Israelis make their moves on those Iranians. Okay, because the moment those gutter rats go into the land of Iran, they're going to cause the United States to get involved with their confrontation with Iran, and that's what's really going to set off World War III. But before World War III, we know that the MOTB has to be pushed first. It has to be implemented. It has to become mandatory. So World War III is not going to start until the MOTB is pushed. Well, I'll just say this. The nuclear war of World War III is not going to begin until the MOTB is pushed. But we see the rise of World War III. We see the MOTB being pushed. It's only a matter of time before it begins to become mandatory. So here we're hearing about a possible surge of civil unrest breaking out in more than half of the world's countries. And we're already seeing that. Down there in China, it's all out chaos. People is panic buying food after hearing that they might have to be under lockdowns for 2 months. Okay, people stocking up on food, meats, rice. There's all kind of abnormal weather effects taking place all around the world at the same damn time. The water to that brother Micah Allah for showing that video. Hey, I got excited when I saw that video, man. Because the Lord is doing his thing, man. He's executing judgment in the earth. But as touching these civil unrests, they're all mentioned here in the book of 2nd Esdras. chapter 15, and I'll just start at 14, okay? Because this is all judgment, Zephaniah 3 and 5, coming from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Okay? So you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians need to learn how to listen. Verse 15, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and the one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay, what is this talking about? It says the one people shall stand up and fight against another. Now, first off, this is talking about race wars. The one people is the nation of Israel, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, shall stand up and fight against another people. The another people is talking about the biblical Edomites, you know, which is so-called white people, starting with the so-called elites, trickling down to the rest of their nation of people. Okay? Now, on the other hand, the one people is talking about your civilians. Okay? Civilians. So it's going to be the civilians. The one people, which is the civilians, shall stand up and fight against another. Well, what's the another? The another is the government, and swords in their hands. The modern day sword is what? The gun. So these race wars and these civil wars that you see right here, it's going to be fought with guns. As you see right there, these troops got guns on them. They are armed. Okay, they got riot shields and guns. Okay. So these civil wars, especially here in America, these civil wars are going to be fought with guns. And that's why, you know, the so-called elites have Joe Biden pushing for gun control laws so hard. Okay? Because ultimately, they want to take away the guns of you people. That way, with martial law coming to enforce the CHIP, the CHIP, there be little to no resistance. Okay? So we know that you proud, patriotic Edomites, you're not going to just hand over your guns. So you know what's going to happen? There's going to be a lot of shootouts, okay? And the government, because of the Posse Comitatus Act that was passed around the, I believe, the 1800s, okay, which forbidded the U.S. government from using their own military against their own civilians. Because of the Posse Comitatus Act, they have UN troops. That's why they have UN troops over here. Because the U.S. government can't use their military against their own civilians, and that's because of the Posse Comitatus Act that was passed in the 1800s. Okay, the 18th century, not 18th century, but the 18th century, around the 1800s. Okay, so yeah, it's about to go down, man. Okay, so the one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Now check this out, verse 16. It says, for there shall be sedition among men. What's a sedition? A sedition is an uprising or a rebellion against the government. And what do you think civil unrest is? Civil unrest is when a large group of people got a problem with the government and how the government runs the order of things. Okay? So a sedition is not just an uprising or a rebellion against the government. It's civil unrest. We're seeing it right here. Okay? So they're talking about how they're talking about how the risk of sedition is surging in more than half of the world's countries. Now, this was a prophecy written more than 2,000 years ago by Daniel's brother Esdras. Okay? So he prophesied that there would be civil unrest. And that's what we're seeing right here, okay? It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Okay, the kings and princes is the government affiliates that operate under the government. Like the Senate, the Congress, the House of Representatives, your Democrats, your Republicans, okay? The judicial system. Ain't nobody gonna care about that shit in those days. Ain't nobody gonna care about the police. You think these civilians care about the police? No. So they're not gonna regard their kings or princes. And of course, of their actions shall stand in their power. Okay. Now let's go to verse 17. Over here it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Well, here you go. He's not going to be able to go into a different city. Why? Because of martial law troops. What do you see right here on the screen? You see martial law troops, right? So it's going to be martial law troops that's going to be preventing civilians from leaving their city, or from outside sources entering into the city. Okay, now we must go back to Titus. Okay, during the time of Titus, what was going on? Okay, there was a rebellion going on. Okay, let's refer to the Zealot rebellion. Okay, the Zealot rebellion. Israel was Jerusalem. That was like Jerusalem's last stance, I believe, against Rome before the Romans had took them down. But during the time of the Zealots, a wall was built around Jerusalem. Okay, so that nothing could go into the city and nothing could go out of the city. So during that time, there was a famine during the Zealot rebellion. Okay, so there was a famine. So this is going to lead to a famine. If these people keep rioting, all this food and stuff, eventually there's going to be a food shortage. You think martial law troops is going to allow food trucks to enter into your city if you're out there rioting? No. So guess what? These martial law troops, they're going to be stopping food trucks from coming in. All that good stuff, man. It's going to lead to a famine. Okay. So you can see how all these prophecies start to unfold and how they will all, simultaneously happen in a domino effect. Martial law can lead to famine. It can lead to cannibalism. It can lead to disease warfare. Because who do you think delivers your hygiene supplies to your homes? Your department store trucks do. So lack of hygiene can lead to diseases. But anyways, with that, I'm going to say Shalom is on to the next one.